Beep, 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 beep. A Radio Stat Zero broadcast. You know, Pete, it's been 6 months since you were on here last.
Wow.
And then before that, it was 6 months before that.
Wow. That's interesting.
It is
What
interesting.
What? Wow.
I had to check. I was sitting like, well, when was the last time he was on here? 6 months ago. When was
Look
the first
at
time?
that.
A
There's
year
a
ago.
pattern.
It is. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We got Noah in the chat.
Hey, Noah.
What's going on?
Oh
going
man,
on,
a
Pete?
lot. A lot's going on. Jeez.
I
It's,
noticed.
I don't even know what's going on anymore. There's so much going on.
It's kind of delirious.
I know that it doesn't make for interesting conversation to
It can.
open it up that way.
It can.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no, that's. I don't know what's going on with you. It's like those birds in the Jungle Book. Like, oh, I'll start that again.
I know you've been streaming a lot, right? So
Yeah.
you're we got to keep it tight today, which we have
No,
failed
not
to
really.
do in the
It's-
first 1 minute.
I found where it says I have my thing, and I guess they must. It says I've done 12 out of 20 hours.
Okay.
So like telling me I'm getting really close. I guess
Yeah, you get
that's only like 8 1-hour days or something like that. But
you get 20 hours on the free program, right?
Yep.
For StreamYard, yeah.
Yep, I don't know that I need much more than that per month, really. You know, it's 5
Yeah.
days a week, an hour each, or something like that. Like that's not.
Yeah, you're cutting it. Yeah, you're cutting it close. I mean, there's only 9 days left in the month, and
Yeah, probably have to slack back on streaming the draw streams
Yeah.
a little bit here and there until October. A couple more, but
take a couple days off or something. Or you could even maybe can you pre-record them and then put them up? Is that like
no,
an
that's a
option for
paid
you?
feature kind
Oh.
of thing. But that's
Well
okay.
then.
You know what that it just means? I'm not working digital. I'm working like watercolor or something like that. When I'm not streaming or whatever, usually it's just like, hey, I'm streaming anyways. I might as well talk to people. But
Yeah.
uh,
You know what I think you could do if you're gonna do it on your own, you could just go live straight to YouTube and don't use StreamYard.
I could. I think
You know.
YouTube's a little StreamYard's a little easier. Like YouTube seems to be a bit more finicky. I think with the live stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
because
not-
you
the
can't
last I
kind of
tried.
highlight
Yeah,
people and
the chat
yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, there's someone suggested OBS, but I believe that's you got to like buy yourself a textbook, read through the whole thing, get a
Yeah.
degree.
I liked OBS, but the biggest problem I had with it was, oh my lord, does it eat up the processing power of the computer?
Oh, really? Yeah.
So yeah, it would freeze the computer like crazy, and just and then it'd be out of sync sometime between the audio and the video, and you
Yeah.
have to kind of gauge that. It was fun, but what a pain.
Oh, you used it?
I used not StreamYard, jeez, OBS.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Must have been before I found you, because I think you've been using StreamYard since I.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of older, especially on the Alterna channel, where it almost looks like some crazy. You ever see like those broadcasts where it looks like the person's like, just enveloped, suffocating in graphics,
Right.
So I used OBS for a while.
Yeah.
But then at 1.2 with OBS, they made it that you couldn't actually use your camera through OBS like as a virtual cam. It's like a whole other, what a pain.
Yeah.
But
Another update ruins the whole thing. We got Marcus Killigrew at the Nest. Welcome.
Hey, Marcus.
I'm working, but I can be here for a while. I'm Praetor 7.
What's up? What's up, indeed?
Good to see you guys. So you've been through some changes at Alterna, I've noticed. I watched that most important Alterna stream.
Yeah, Yeah, it really was. To me, it was, because it's kind of just laying the cards out on the table and kind of spitballing about where we're at and maybe what ideas we could do to be in a better position. And so after getting it out there, and I did some research beforehand before talking about it, and then I did more afterwards, and then it was like, yeah, I can kind of do this, but there's too many avenues where it could turn into a nightmare scenario.
Right.
For all involved, especially because there's always someone that's gunning for Alterna. Always. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Since I've found you guys, sure.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. Even when it seems like it's quieted, it's still ready to, someone's ready to pounce. And I'm just tired of that nonsense, know, and not just for me at that point. I don't want to involve anybody in it getting all of a sudden wrapped up in that kind of nonsense too, because they're trying to be generous and kind and helpful. So instead, there's a better way that we've done it, because the ideal way for me was for people who wanted to kind of help out but get rewarded for it. Right. Not people who are going to help out and then, kind of like a micro loan and then get paid back in a couple of years or something like that. But more like, if you want to go in there and help out, you also get stacked with rewards and perks and exclusives and bonuses and discounts and everything else. And so we came up with the All-Star program. We rolled out that moniker again. We had that back when we were doing subscriptions on the site. And this All-Star program, if anybody uses code All-Star when you purchase one of these, you get $50 off. So the $100 All-Star plan, you can get it for $50, $200 for $150, $300 for $250. And at the basic level, at the no space, all caps, actually lowercase too, it'll take it All-Star at the checkout for it. But the basic All-Star program, you get discounts every month. I just sent one out today to the members, a secret sale type stuff that's not anywhere else. You get a actually, can you scroll down a little bit and remind me, because there's a lot on these programs.
Are we starting with the All-Star?
Yeah. So you get those exclusive sales, but you also get access to a members only exclusive page, and that's going to go up on October 1st. That's full of merch that we're not going to sell anywhere else. It's just going to be available for the All-Star members.
Nice.
Then you also get an All-Star pin, and all this kind of stuff is going to take like 2 to 4 weeks to get shipped out to everybody, but it's going to get shipped out. You get a signed and personalized certificate. So the certificate will also explain not just what you're getting on your perks. It'll have the level that you're at. I'm going to sign it, and it'll have like this fun little thing that you can put on the wall or something that looks just like, you know, hey, I support Alterna. I'm helping keep Alterna independent. And then a membership trading card. And the trading card is going to be part of the Alterna series set that we do, but it's going to be of Alterna Comics. So it's going to be kind of like the Alterna Comics Alterna series trading card. And it's going to have some of our history on there and things like that, some facts and whatever. But it's only a card that's going to be given exclusively to All-Star members.
Sure. So
in the next tier, every single tier rolls over into the other. So the Superstar tier, you get all the stuff from the All-Star tier. But then you also get the Timey Tim trading card as well. Because we're ending the Reader Reward Exclusives program where people cut up the comics and send in the stamps. A bunch of people did it, but
that's cool.
Yeah, but I'm just ending it. We're rolling it over into this, especially now that I can do this on the site. Before I couldn't.
Really?
Yeah. We didn't have that option a year ago to do this kind of program on the site. And I was looking in the past couple of months, and I was like, maybe we could roll out some kind of reward thing. You know, maybe it's possible. Yeah. And so now it is. And the Alterna Ambassador pin, you get that. That's different. This tier is more for people who really want to be active and out there. So you get 30 stickers, 30 bookmarks. You're kind of like an Alterna street team in a way. So if you're like an Alterna super fan and you really want to go above and beyond, if you go to a lot of shops or conventions or things like that, you could bring those around and help spread the word. You get a bumper sticker as well that's just exclusive.
Kids love them.
Yeah. So you get all that kind of stuff. And then on the other tier, the legend status, you get everything from Superstar, everything from All-Star, and then you also get other things too. So you get an exclusive t-shirt with an all-over print, and the shirt design is actually at the bottom of the page too, with the front and back.
Yep, right there.
Yeah. And we're not selling that shirt. That shirt's just available if you're an Alterna legend. we actually printed out, placed an order this morning for the Live Free and Indie tote bag.
Mhm.
So that's going to be just for the Alterna Legends, and then also a 3x2 patch, very similar to the way that these patches are that could go right on the hat. It's going to have Alterna Legend on it. And then you get a signed 11x17 poster. You get a bonus comic with every order. And then you also get, whenever you place an order on the site, not including Alternaween, because Alternaween those are bundles meant to be given out. But when it's like single issue comics that are being purchased, you get it bagged and boarded. So for that, you get, like I said, the Superstar, the All-Star, and then everything on the Legend tier. You get that, and then that's just for the year.
Right.
The whole thing, though, that's crazy, because we also have the rewards on the site now too. So every dollar you spend, you get one Alterna coin.
Right.
And you can trade in Alterna coins for, you can redeem those for discounts and things like that on the site. When you sign up as a site member, you get 100 Alterna coins. If you're already a site member, as soon as you make your next purchase, you're going to get 100 Alterna coins dumped in within 24 hours. The 100 can be automatically redeemed for a 10% off coupon, or you can hold on to them, and there's various higher perks that you can redeem for.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and the thing about the Legend status and everything else with the pricing plans, you get Alterna coins for those. So if you sign up as a site member, you get 100 bonus Alterna coins, and let's say you bought the Legend status and use code ALLSTAR, so then you pay $250. So now you get 350 Alterna coins. If you made a purchase of $110 of anything that's on the Alterna site, you're then eligible to get a 50% off your total order coupon code.
Giving stuff away, Pete.
Savings add up real fast. And I'm finding people are really digging. We've already had like 4 or 5 people redeem their Alterna coins when they got in the first 100 and then got 10% off their order. So I'm finding that people are digging those, and who doesn't want to get rewarded for their purchases on a site? So I'm glad we were able to do both of those. I like that system better. I like being able to give back to the readers and everything too. And the pricing plans for the All-Star program are completely voluntarily. So it's, they don't have to actually purchase those. But the reward thing is free, 100%. And all you got to do is just sign up, be a member on the site. And then you can also keep track of your orders. You can make a wish list. There's a lot more features to the site too.
Speaking of features, we got Grape Nuka Cola 237. Hello, welcome to the nest. I don't know if you've ever been here. Praetor 7 says $50 off. Wow.
Yeah, so it makes that All-Star program basically half off.
Oh, absolutely. And Marcus Kilger says he just ordered the first 2 issues of Horace H. Hoover. I envy you, because I've already read them. Had a great time. But you got to read them for the first time. It's a heck of a fun book.
Yeah,
and I feel like that one's going to climb the ranks of like people really talking about it too, kind of like Blood Realm.
Yeah, I hope so. And all of this too is in conjunction with how we're changing up our crowdfunding model, where the creators are going to be the ones, similar to what I'm doing at King Cryptid, they're going to be the ones doing their own campaigns for their books. So it's like a stack at a time for the books. And then Alterna is going to do relatively monthly, I'd say 10 to 12 campaigns a year. Once we fulfill one, we'll get another one going. And keep it going like that. And every month there'll be a very small, very focused campaign on some new merch, whether it's a new t-shirt line, like here are the new t-shirts for 2023, or trading cards or whatever it may be. But we'll have very focused campaigns.
Alterna's like doing more like merch campaigns.
Yeah.
And the creators are so at least Rob's ahead of the game. I know I've backed him before. He's done 4, something like that.
So right now, Brian Baugh with Wolf and Batsy, he's scheduled to aim for November for his campaign for issues 10 to 13. And then, and then we got Fabrizio in February with issues 3 to 5. And he'll sell, of course, like 1 to 2. Same thing with all of the campaigns. They'll have their back issues and things on there. And it's still going to be Alterna issues, still going to be newsprint, still going to be all that. And then in April or May, Rob is going to have his campaign for 5 issues. So he's going to do 14 to 18 in April or May. And then around June, July, we're going to have a campaign for it came out on a Wednesday, 21, 22, 23, along with possibly Unit 44, 9, and 10. The reason I say possibly is because of the fact that right now Wes recently moved and his family's kind of in a state of upheaval. So he's not sure what he can do in terms of running the campaign. So as I said, well, you know what, you already got issues 9 and 10 done. Like, they're done. Like, he's already got those 2 issues completed. So I was like, put them onto the campaign. Maybe they came out on a Wednesday, and I could just do a 5-issue campaign like that, and I'll run it. And then King Cryptid for next year will be in September. And I'm hoping we can kind of keep in that groove where every year it's relatively the same month, you know? Right. So like King Cryptid September, Wolf and Batsy November, et cetera, et cetera. And we kind of run through it like that.
Like a season. Yeah.
While also Alterna campaigns are like practically every month with new items. So it's going to seem just like if you're Alterna faithful and you're backing practically everything we do, it's going to seem like you're getting constantly something from Alterna all the time. Which is probably because you are. So it's one of those things where it enables the creators to do what they need to do and what they do best, and it enables me to do what I got to do and what I do best. And this way, hopefully, it becomes this well-oiled machine after a year or so of it. Because otherwise, the previous way of doing it was fine, but it wasn't ideal, and it made a lot of the creators, when I was talking to them, it made them feel like unsure of how to properly promote because it wasn't their campaign.
Right.
You know, like they were one book a part of a 5 or 6 issue campaign, and they felt like, you know, maybe we could do this a bit differently. So I said, okay, if we have it more focused and tailored to you guys running it, you know, just a Horace H. Hoover campaign, just a Blood Realm campaign, because they're like, I really like the way you're doing it with King Cryptid, you know, so we can do it like that. And I'm thinking that I'll talk to them and see. I'm thinking we could probably have at least the issues being offered as a pre-order on the Alterna site.
Sure.
All the other stuff they can take care of on their own campaigns and things like that. If they want to have merch, if they want to have art options and whatever. But if people want to order the issues on the Alterna site, they can go and do that.
Sure. Yeah, I suppose that'd be pretty much the same as backing them, you know, through their campaign and just getting the comics or something like that. So that makes sense. Gordon, Amanda, welcome to the nest. And Gordon, good brother, Amanda, welcome to the nest. As I can tell, there's been a push to get Alterna creators self-promoting.
Yeah, it's so important. You know, it's important because not only is Alterna, it's 100% creator-owned, first of all. So they own everything that has to do with what they're doing. And then there's a very small profit split between Alterna and the creator. And aside from those business type things, the most important thing I've tried stressing over my 17 years with Alterna to creators, and it doesn't really ever land, is that they have to get out there and promote. They have to get out there and talk about their books and their characters and what they're doing. And it's so important because that's what people love to see. You know, I'm very biased. I'm going to come across and it's going to be like, well, of course he's trying to sell us those books, you know? And I don't make them. But yeah, I told all the guys, I'm like, look at what I'm doing with King Cryptid. You know, don't be precious about it, but also don't give the whole thing away. Understand certain things that, you know, you need to pull back on and certain things you need to explain. We're independent. We don't have the ability and the privilege and luxury of having a 70-year-old property to just sell itself for us. You know, like like the corporate companies are kind of it's their game to lose. You know, so if they're not maximizing what they're doing based on these characters that so many people know for such a very long time, they're really messing up. You know, but at the indie level, you don't have that kind of thing. You don't have someone that already knows of your character. You know, it's very rare. So especially at Alterna, where no one's been around for so long with these characters. Even though I've been around, King Crypt is new. People got to know about it. They got to know what it's all about. They got to know, and you got to give them a reason, but you also have to show how excited you are and that it means something to you. And over the years, I've butt heads with a lot of creators about that philosophy. And every single one of them, when they end up leaving Alterna, I think like 95% of them, they just fall flat on their face because they weren't really ever out there promoting their book. So their book and their characters became associated with Alterna, and that shouldn't be that way. You know, I want people to go, okay, with Blood Realm, right? Oh, Blood Realm, that Robert Geronimo guy, that's his book, and Alterna publishes it.
Right.
It's very different than saying, oh, Blood Realm, that's that Alterna Comics book, and Robert Geronimo makes it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I agree absolutely. Like I had Rob on couple of weeks ago, and we had a really good talk about Blood Realm, and I feel like he's pretty good at it. I mean, in terms of like talking about stuff, he's super passionate. He's got his histories all put down, and hopefully, like the way you're doing it is gonna like cement some sort of a consistency. Because I especially from the last few days on Twitter, consistency is something that indie comics it's either dissipating or it's just kind of like stagnant.
It's a whole other discipline, and the side of the business aspect of it, and you don't need to look at it as business. You have to look at it as a part of this is also a part of the craft.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as creative as you want to be with your stories, you have to also use that creativity with your business. But you shouldn't just look at it and view it as a cold business type of thing that needs to be done. It should come from a place of excitement. It should come from a place of sincerity. You know, you're making this stuff because you want people to enjoy this stuff. You want it to resonate. You want it to get out there. You know, so why don't you want to talk about it? Yeah, it's always been weird to me when I've dealt with too many of them. Too many creators that feel like, oh, you're just shirking your responsibility. I'm like, I'm promoting it too. Don't get me wrong. But if we work together with you being slightly louder than me, then it benefits you.
Well, I think that might be on a creator perspective, sort of. It's like I think it's a weird, like, you know, like when you're working out, everybody hates leg day kind of thing. But it's beneficial for, you know, your knees and getting around and stuff. It's a good thing to do. So I mean, like when you go, oh shoot, I got to go out and promote. You know, I'm not creating, I'm promoting. You know, there's that there's two major audiences here. You got the comic book people that are just like, I'm just waiting for my comic books, and then there are the YouTube people that are like, well, I'm gonna back this comic just to keep this creator around so they can continue to entertain me, because I cut my cable bill. I don't have it anymore. I'm watching YouTube all the time. So I mean, you know, that's the second side of the coin. I see it. You know, you get on there and you're entertaining and you have fun talking about your characters and, you know, old movies, or, you know, like bridging that stuff together, like mixing it around, and that's, I think, every bit as part of like the storytelling aspect.
Oh yeah,
as the actual books, just getting on and talking about it.
Yeah,
excitedly. It's if you do it right, it's contagious. I think people go, holy cow, love that dude, I love his energy, I got to get this book to see what it's all about. Like, I think that's something that people don't necessarily look at.
When you see someone talking about their book, and you could just tell that, you know, that it's like the body language changes, the tone of voice changes, they get more expressive. Yep. You know, when they're really excited about it, you just want to be like, I want some of that.
Or at least to see that, you know, like they're putting it into their book. Because I mean, I haven't heard a single bad thing about King Cryptid, and it shows like when you're on screen too. Excuse me. Peephole Circus, welcome to the nest. Hey. Dr. Mask, welcome to the nest. Good to see you guys.
But yeah, I want people to at Alterna to kind of shed their skin a bit, get outside their comfort zone when it comes to certain things, because the world is changing, and I'm not going to go into the other side of it, but I'll stick to the comic side of it. Sure. The world is changing, but at the same time, it is still very much the same. It's just the format, the way to do it, the vehicle for it, of getting the word out there, has changed, and you have to recognize that. Now, I always view it as this: the best thing that any company can do when it comes to promoting and marketing, generally speaking, is television and direct mail. So here's the other side of it. Television replaced by YouTube or whatever else you're doing video-wise to get out there on social media. Direct mail replaced by your newsletter. So you need both. If you're not doing both, if you're not trying to utilize that as fully as possible, you're essentially leaving the two biggest promotional things you could do on the table. And so it's always been this system, because people go, I don't want to have to be a personality. I don't want to have to get out there and talk about it. But then meanwhile, we look back and go, man, wouldn't it have been great if there were so many more Stan Lee type creators that were spreading the word and talking about it and getting excited? Think about comics in a whole different way. If every company at least had a Stan Lee, you know, so it's just the same type of thing.
I don't know that you necessarily need to have to be like, and I think this is, you look at some of our louder personalities around here, And so many people think, well, they're successful because they're really loud. I don't necessarily think that that's the absolute truth of it. Like, you can be fairly monotone almost, and if you're engaging, it'll still get it done.
Oh, I don't mean the personality, like the verbosity.
Well, I think that's one
bombastic.
of the things with artists where they're like, well, I'm not very interesting. No one's going to want to listen to this. Why am I not just at my desk? No, if you're engaging, if you're, people want to hear what you think, and you're not just wasting their time, that's just as good. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had people say like, oh boy, I'm really tired of like drunk party streams. I want to hear people discuss something like adults. You know?
And that's why everything is subjective in terms of what your viewer value is. Like, I'm not really a fan of that either. I'm not really a fan of like, let's look at the internet for 4 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. People like it. They like it. That's cool. People want to do it. If they like doing it, then do it. But that's the thing, is lean into, like, I'd rather have like the one-on-one interview session, which is what I've been doing with my channel. So I'd rather have that, the deep dives into stuff, or talk about something outside the box or something
which
that
has exploded lately. You've had a lot of great interviews.
Oh yeah, it's been great. I've been having a blast, man. I've been maintaining a commitment towards it, booking up like almost all of October at this point too. So it's one of those things where I'm trying to get a month ahead, This way there's no excuses, because it's easy to have excuses when you're just going to, do it yourself. And if you're not feeling that great that day, you're like, I won't do a show today.
Right.
And then all of a sudden a week goes by. I don't want to do a show. I got stuff to do. I'm not feeling that great. I'm busy, But if you make commitments with people, you're like, oh, I'm letting them down. I'm letting down the people who want to see this conversation, and just keep it an hour or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
an hour.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is you don't have to go into like this you're not who you are or whatever it is and be totally fake or something like that. I don't encourage that at all. If anything, man, you're going to get so burnt out and so weird from that, that route. It
escalates and you have to keep on outdoing yourself, and then they notice the fakeness. I notice, and then it's the turnoff.
Totally. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that you have to stay, like you said, consistent with it. And you also have to be in a position where this is also something you enjoy doing. Find an angle to it. Something you like to talk about, or is draw streams your thing, or, whatever it may be. The topics you want to discuss, people you want to have on there, bring people into your circle to have them on there as well, to have more engaging conversations as well if you run out of things to talk about. But there's all kinds of different ways to go about it. And every single person that ever goes into this, it's a whole new skill set to develop. And we all start off and we're like, so I don't know what's going on right now.
That's right.
Is anybody here?
Showing up? Yep.
Oh, look, there's one they just left.
Oh, they just left.
Okay, well, I'm going to draw something, I guess, and if you watch it, cool. And we all kind of start off that way. Whether it's talking about something, you're drawing on air, you're doing whatever. You do it long enough, you get more confident with it, you get more comfortable with yourself, you get more at ease, you learn the whole interface, and then all of a sudden a year or 2 or 3 goes by and you're just like a pro with it. And once you hit that level and you're hitting your stride, it's easier to be more engaging with the chat or with your guest or whoever, and then all of a sudden it's just second nature. But you gotta stick with it, and you gotta go through that rough part of the road.
Oh, you'll be able to tell once they kind of stop, like, not like apologizing or thanking or whatever too much, but I mean, you'll see like, hey, if you really like this content, let me know and I'll do more. And once they're seasoned, they just jump on and be like, okay, so you know what? I just saw this movie. They just keep on going, and the chat wants to. I kind of feel it like those ranking shows, like people go in there every single time, and usually it's just like, well, what do they think about this? Person might not even be that interesting, but they're gonna want to know what's their top 3. It's very much the same with your like opinion shows and stuff like that. People are gonna say, well, I mean, what's this person think about this book? I want to know. I mean, that's just, people like to talk about this stuff. Speaking of talking, Michael DJ, welcome to the nest. Stat is pioneering the ASMR sexy draw streams. Really likes that on like during sexy time, I guess. Praetor 7 on Lego when Pete pretends to be Patrick Bateman.
Oh my lord. Man,
Good afternoon, Praetor 7. Okay, 12:30 there.
Yeah,
least in
but
my time.
that's the thing, is that, and it goes the same thing with art, right? So if you're going about it with YouTube, you want to lean into whatever makes you uniquely you.
Yeah.
What you really like, what you're about, your specific opinion and voice on it. Again, that takes time. But it's just like art. It takes time to find your style. It takes time to find, well, what is my vision here? Are you at first aping somebody else? Because that's kind of how we all start with anything, right? We emulate. Even when you're kids, all you do is emulate.
Sit and draw like those pages next to you, try to get it as close as you can. Yep.
And it's the same thing with this kind of thing. When it's a new skill set you're adding on, you're looking to, okay, well, I like how they do that. I like how they do that, and eventually you craft in some of that, but the more you do it, the more of you starts to come out, and your influences might still be there, but they're never like right at the top, the way it looks like when you're just starting out for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've seen where I can look at them and say, well, that's Mignola, but these guys are drawing shoulders and their faces look kind of like, like Adam Hughes or something like that. And you start to pick it all apart. And then after a year of that, you're like, well, now I don't see any of those influences in there. I just like their work. So
yeah.
Gordon Goodbrother says it can be difficult to stream to people who aren't familiar with the subject at all. Yeah, if you have a guest that has no idea what's going, and that's why I think it's nice to have an icebreaker, like a 10-minute talk about something or whatever. If you're, you either get into it right away and then you have that little like relaxed talk toward the end, or you start with the relaxed talk and then they eventually kind of like, stop stiffening up and laugh a little more and talk. I think there is definitely an art to it that most people don't think about as far as like talking to people.
And there's always that, and even if you're doing it on your own, that's the whole aspect of this too, where it becomes you're finding the audience as much as they're finding you. And it's the same thing again with your comic, with your art, with whatever it is you're doing. A lot of conversation I've seen nowadays with this stuff revolves around, well, we got to get back to, big retail stores. We got to get stuff out there because otherwise no one's ever going to discover this stuff. And I have the rebuttal of, yeah, I get it. But at the same time, you're talking about who's really finding things that way. The vast majority of people aren't necessarily going to wherever to find something new. They're usually going to the store because they have a good feeling they'll find it there. Right? So if you don't have a local comic shop in your area, and you got a big box retail store or whatever it is, and you wish, I wish the comics were there. Now, you're not a new customer. You're not someone who's necessarily unfamiliar with comics. You already know about comics. That's why you want to see them everywhere. But a person entirely new to it going, well, if I'm going to get interested in this stuff, the first place they're ever going to start looking is, generally speaking, as much as I hate it, it's going to be the internet. It's going to be social media. It's going to be YouTube. It's going to be whatever else. And it's going to be Amazon. It's going to be the way that they usually go about, looking. A lot of retail's online now. Yeah. So everyone, it's human nature. You're going to start being interested in stories, fiction, yada, yada, hobbies, whatever it might be. If you're not that type of person, you wouldn't, they could be in every grocery store in the world. You're still not going to be a customer. You know what I mean? So you have to be someone who's already intrinsically interested in that kind of thing. And there's a lot of that stuff already around. But the thing with the stores and that kind of a thing is that they're not going to necessarily be a place to go to anymore. That's not going to be an avenue of sale. It's incredibly expensive. Most stores just don't want them anyway. So looking at it like that and wishing that it would go back to the way it was isn't going to happen. And I understand the proclivity to want to do that because I'm totally there too, right? Because I love comics. I'd love to see them everywhere. I don't know about maybe modern day nowadays comics, but just comics in general would be great to see. Yeah. But when it comes to this, you have to understand, okay, so there's people that are doing things, and this is where the YouTube aspect or the social media aspect comes in too. If you're going to find that audience, that you have to bring them in with something else. Yeah. So you have to bring them in with the other things you're interested in. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go and look at the buzzworthy thing and talk about that, and that's what, happens. But let's say you're interested in, I don't know, let's say you're interested in football. You really love football, but you also make comics, right? And there are those people out there. So let's say you're really knowledgeable, you're into it, whatever. Do some videos about that. Talk about that. Get these people in, and then they'll be like, "Oh crap, this guy makes this thing too. Let me see." Because that's literally how everyone else is doing that.
Today we're doing a flip through of NFL Super Pro.
Right? But if like you're like, "Oh, comic books." I never really would have given that a shot, but I like this dude. I like what they're talking about, and hey, this thing kind of looks interesting. And okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot. But you have to be genuine about it. You have to actually have an interest and a knowledge about it, and want to. And that could be anything. So it doesn't matter what it is. It could be food. It could be sports. It could be movies. It could be other comics. It could be whatever. And just run through the gamut of the things that you're interested in. Talk about them. Let people know a bit of who you are, what you're into, and get out there. And then the topic kind of evolves and it turns into this thing. And we all do that for the most part without knowing we do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of it's that I've seen is like movies or, just other pop culture stuff that's kind of melded in.
Yeah.
You'll see. But it's one of those things where if you grow a channel on like building a cabin in the woods, I'm not 100% sure that audience is going to be like, oh, so you should stock it with comics. But
that's the crazy part, right?
Let's say you mention it every once in a while, but yeah.
You have so many of these channels out there that tons of people are watching something. Everybody's watching something. They're looking at something, whatever. So let's say your favorite a DIY person or nature person, or they're really into animals, or they're really into whatever. And then all of a sudden at the end, they're talking about, hey, I've been working on a comic book lately. I don't know if you guys are into that, but, check it out. Go to this website. Here's a flip through. Look at it, and you hope you dig it. And this person that gets like 1 million views on a video, let's say, because they become so entrenched and this is the thing that they do, and this is what you go to them for, they're probably going to outsell the average person professionally making comic books.
Oh, probably.
Because of the audience that they have there that's already going to go, oh, well, I had no idea. I'm going to go check that out. And even if they got like 1,000 to 10,000 people of that 1 million view video that they generally get when they're, that's incredible. But again, it takes time to build for that, but you have to do it in a genuine way. You have to get out there and do that. So what I'm trying to basically say is that as you keep doing something, and again, it goes back to consistency. That's kind of the theme of the show. As you keep doing whatever it is you're doing, people are also going to find you, but you have to be there. So there is a concept of attrition involved where you have to wade through it and outlast other people and find a way to survive and keep doing what it is you're doing and talk about it and get out there, and that's that. Because eventually the more you do it, the more you dedicate yourself to it. Not only are you getting better and you're growing as well, but there's people out there that are going to find you because they're looking for you. You don't even realize this, but that's happening all the time.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing where the audience is getting older. You don't have to necessarily go, well, how do we get the 5 or 6 year olds hooked on comics?
Yeah.
It's not about that, because that 5 or 6 year old is going to be 10 years old in 5 years. You have to last that 5 years to get to that 10-year-old who's all of a sudden going on the internet and looking up comics or whatever it is they're doing, or then they're 15, then they're 20, then they're what. There's all people at all these different ages, different points of life that are always looking into these topics. So as long as you're around, you're doing something with quality, you're consistently there, you're going to find the audience, and the audience will find you. But if you're never there to begin with, if you're the person who's like, I'm just going to create my stuff. I wish we were in the day and age of I could just put it on the newsstand and then I don't have to really talk about it, and the audience will find it. That day and age never occurred. If you didn't talk about it and promote it, it didn't matter if you were in every newsstand. The likelihood of you succeeding still is generally a big fat zero. You're hoping for lightning to strike like 100 times while you're holding like the winning Powerball ticket every time, essentially. That's the odds.
Quite a few of those creators were beat up by the syndicates and stuff like that a little bit too back in the day.
Yeah.
So there's stuff that's not being talked about.
Yeah, there's so many things involved at every step of it, at every turn and evolution of the comic industry or various industries. So, for people to kind of romanticize the notion of, I just want to be a person who creates, I just want to write, I just want to draw, and then
Well,
my
isn't
whole
that how
life
it
is
always
just set
is?
out for me, and that's not gonna happen.
Isn't that always how it is though? Like, you read some medieval stuff and you're like, oh, I was born in the wrong time. It would have been so good to have knights and princesses and stuff. You get back there and it's like everybody's diseased, starving,
Yeah,
no doctors.
yeah, and that's like that's the worst thing about having some kind of nostalgia, is thinking that everything before was always great. There was never anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Not acknowledging that, yes, some things were better, some things were worse. Some things were maybe just the same way that they are right now.
Just different, yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where we're looking at it, and certain things, yes, were better, and certain things, yes, were worse. But in terms of like the way you communicate with people, the way the stories that resonate, the way to grab attention in terms of all of that, that stayed the same. And if it hasn't stayed the same, you wouldn't have people relating to things from 2 or 3,000 years ago when they read about certain stories, certain
Right.
myths, certain legends, and go, oh, that's interesting to me. I get that. Because we would have changed too much. We would have evolved too
Yeah.
much in our way of thinking. We look at that and go, that's like trying to relate to, I don't know, and some people can, but trying to relate to like the journey of an ant. And you're like, okay, so he's like gonna go here today, and then he's doing the other thing, and then
He just got taken by another. Oh boy, he's dead.
and then he's like, okay, but to the ants, they're like, this is important. This is our thing, and they're communicating to each other. But for us, we're like, oh, okay.
Michael DJ says there's an audience for informative, pleasant interviews with interesting guests. Pete and Jay at Desolate Souls are masters of that.
Oh, thank you. Man. Appreciate
and
it.
Gordon Goodbrother says
great.
there's such thing as too unique, too niche. I do believe there is. Probably, I mean, if you are passionate about it, you market it well, you could probably get an audience for it. But I mean, there are some ideas that, as of right now, are probably ahead of their times. Maybe.
Yeah, I
can't rule that out.
I want to say no. Immediately, I want to say no. And then the next thing I want to say is yes, only if you are always only thinking of an audience of one, yourself.
Right.
So if because then you start leaning into like arrogant narcissist levels. And sooner or later, it doesn't really matter what you make. If you're not even thinking about the audience involved, it turns into,
right.
This is just really for you.
You come along if you want, but this is my ride.
Yeah, and maybe you could attain like a cult of personality from that point, but then you're also kind of preying upon like the weak-willed. You're putting the Jedi mind trick on everybody, and the people that go, oh no, I see what that is. They're not really going to be along for the ride, and you're going to get a lot of like weak-minded people who are going to kind of yes you to death, and you're never going to really grow past that. So, I mean, that's a whole concept for another day.
You get a huge peak, and then it'll drop really, really sharply.
Yeah, generally. Yeah, that's how a lot of that stuff goes. Mm-hmm. But, you can be too unique if you're the whole point of you being that way is because you're striving to not be genuine. And I've seen people do that, where, like, their whole idea is, I got to be as unique and as original as I can.
Yeah, it doesn't mesh well.
And that's not genuine. Because you're purposefully sitting there thinking about, how can I be unique, right? Instead of just going and leaning into like whoever you are, and just doing that.
Well, then you run the risk of like it's a crazy idea, and people get that first one out of curiosity. But like most books, like the first one's high, the second one takes a 50% drop sometimes, and some creators be looking at that going, "Holy crap, they don't like me." What the first one was gold, right? Why didn't they get the second one? Because that's normal. You build back up from that. But I think a lot of people get intimidated or discouraged, rather, when
totally.
Their second book doesn't hit those first book numbers. It doesn't exceed the first book numbers because, no plan meets contact. It always seems better in your head.
Yeah. And the thing when you go about creating anything that's going to be put out there for other people to enjoy, and you hope it resonates with them, is it first has to resonate with you. So you do first have to come from the mindset of being that person who's like, well, the first person this is going to entertain is me. The first person that has to care about this is me.
Or you got to work on it.
But it doesn't end there, you know. And for some people it does. For some people it just begins and ends with, well, how much do I like this and nuts to you all, you know. That generally, there's been some people who can probably succeed with that, but generally speaking, most people are not going to succeed with that.
It'll just be a hobby.
Yeah, so it turns into, well, are you being receptive to understanding, you know, maybe some of the avenues you can explore within your creation? Are you being receptive to the feedback you're getting from the audience that you wish to have?
They'll let you know.
Yeah, you know, is your standard of quality there, or are your standards so low, but you think that they're high, and the audience is telling you, no, you got to lift it up. You know, so you have to be willing to understand that at the end of the day, while you're creating this thing and it's coming from you, that once you are trying to get it out there into the world and tell people, yes, put your time and money and emotional investment into this thing, now you're getting them involved. And now you have to understand that you are an entertainer, you're a storyteller, you need to be doing this thing to also try to enrich someone's life. And now it doesn't mean that when you say that you have to create works of drama.
Right.
You know, you can enrich someone's life by creating like the craziest, dumbest thing someone's ever read, but it's so entertaining and there's so much escapism involved that you're just like, wow, this is brilliant because of the fact that it's making me laugh my ass off, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to always be like super serious.
No, I mean, well, I've said many times before that, you know, you stand a pretty decent chance if you take a look at what's really, really popular right now, what everybody's looking at, and then kind of run the opposite direction. I mean, you remember the early 90s, like 80s to 90s, you had a lot of story-driven cartoons, like, you know, the Thundercats, the Batmans, the things like that. And then after Cartoon Network came out, right, with the non sequitur type stuff, seemed really fresh. Everybody loved it. Now we've had 20 years of that, and story stuff is starting to come back into like, okay, we want to have something people can enjoy and watch rather than just like, oh, shoot, look to the left, there's a cow.
Yeah.
What's he doing? That's crazy.
And that's the shame, because when I see indie creators all of a sudden driving their businesses like they're corporations. Yeah. So when and I hate seeing that. So when all of a sudden like they go, well, you know, let's follow the trends, but they're not even doing it consciously. They're going about it in a subconscious kind of way because they think this is what people want. And this is a thing that happens throughout all businesses, where they lean very heavily into these kinds of things because now it seems like that's what they want. So all of the stuff we do should just be that. Yeah. And it's just, why can't you just have the thing that people are gravitating towards? Just be that thing and keep doing the other things.
That seems to be a misconception where it's like, you know, in order to beat or be as good as Marvel and DC, I got to do all the same stuff that they do. That's the standard, right? They said it, and they're the big ones, and so I have to do that. But really, it just means you can cut the bureaucracy out. You can cut, you know, like certain levels out, and just because most of these books in crowdfunding, they'd never ever be put through the big guys because it's just like there's no audience for this. How do you know? Well, there's no other books like this, so we don't know, so we're not going to take a chance.
Exactly.
So it's just not going to happen. I mean,
so what happens is everything starts becoming derivative of everything that came before it, and you get into this weird loop of endless regurgitated recycled ideas.
And then somebody gets some balls and puts a unique thing out. It does great, and then everybody else follows that method. And that's how you get John Wick. Now everybody's John Wick. Dr. Mass says, I think cross-pollination to other interests is a great idea. There are a lot of things that will tie into comics in some way. That's true. I mean, there's a comic for everything. Look at manga. Like, they got guys sitting around fishing and talking, and they're popular books. Dr. Mask also says, I watch a guy who opens food products and sometimes eats them. Sounds wacky, but the guy's knowledgeable and so genuine. He's legit and having a good... I think I know who you're talking about. Is this that little skinny guy that like gets new Taco Bell stuff and tries it out? Rates it. He's always in a suit. I don't know if that's the same one, but I think I've seen that. That dude seems to be very popular.
That guy creeps me out.
Yeah. I've only ever seen pictures of him. I was like, this guy gets followers just like I'm going to try.
Not entirely sure that guy is human.
You think he's related to Zuck?
It's possible.
Comes off the same line?
He does. You know, like, you know, there's a screw behind the ear. And then the face just goes, and there's like wiring and all little.
Oh, it's like Men in Black.
Yeah.
He's got his Taco Bell next to Orion's belt.
But look what he's doing. It's massively appealing to people,
really
because he's obviously, I hope anyway, leaning into something that's genuine about him. Now, sometimes there's people that you take a genuine aspect and then you amplify it. But I think people who find misery more often than success are the people who invent completely and then go into that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh man.
It's a weird, different, but effective kind of clickbait. Like I said, people tune in to see what it is you think about some common thing. So, I mean, instead of saying, like, here's the top 10 Taco Bell things, number 5 is going to surprise you. This guy just comes on and he says, I'm going to try this for the first time. I'm going to tell you what I think. And people are like, I got to know what he thinks. What's he think? He's never had that? What?
Yeah,
I have that every week. Was this Peep says, review, bruh, I'll not hear a bad word said about him. The man is a saint.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, I don't know him personally. I just hope that I hope he's not eating everything he's
I don't
eating.
think he does. I think I want to say I heard
kind
he
of like wine
does like
tasting,
a bite,
like eating them.
2 bite. Yeah. That's the gimmick. It's and people love it. Yeah, New England Wildlife and more. And this is the channel. I don't believe he sells anything. Okay.
Oh, I gotta check that out. I'll check that out, Doc. Appreciate that.
Gotta find some
New
England Wildlife. Gord Goodbrother says it's not that he's a bad egg, it's just he's creepy looking, he says. Michael DJ says that food guy is weird but oddly compelling. Maybe it's because he looks you right in your eyes when he's talking to you. Everybody else looks to the left or the right. Because I noticed he does stare at the camera. He talks about the mouthfeel, the food texture. I have to nope out. Okay, so it is like a wine thing for like Taco Bell or like Pizza Hut or something like that. Like,
yeah. It's like, yeah.
Not sure I need to know the food texture of Taco. Everybody knows the food texture of Taco Bell. It starts crunchy and then it turns questionable real quick.
Oh boy. But yeah.
Pete says he does a radio show. He'd probably like it shortwave, not food related. Oh, okay.
Interesting.
So he's got different stuff.
Yeah, well, hey, look at that, right? Talking about dipping your toe into other aspects of things. There it is.
Gotta just get people in with that Taco Bell and then talk about other things. That's smart. It's like a mousetrap or a snare. Dr. Crow, welcome to the nest. Dang, I almost missed this. What's going on? That's why I got invented replay too, buddy. Good to have you.
Hey, Doc. The other Doc. We got 2 doctors in the house.
Yeah, it's a very smart chat. Sounds like 2 different guys. This guy eats popcorn from the 1960s.
Totally 2 different guys.
Oh, is that what it is? Like, I found this
interesting.
Found this World War II cream corn.
It's a perfectly sane food to eat.
It's sealed, right? It's a can.
It's like Kramer with Lloyd Braun, and Lloyd Braun's eating the hot dog. It's like it's old.
Reminds me of that movie. What was it? Down Periscope. What's the matter, sir? It still tastes like cream corn, except it's deviled yams.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. So we got lots and lots of stuff coming from Alterna. When's the... So you've got this one for this year. When's the next King Cryptid? Is that next, May?
Next September, I'll do that. I'm going to move the King Cryptid campaigns because it has more of a fall feeling. So this will fulfill around like July, August. Mm-hmm. And then the next campaign for 10 to 13. Maybe 14. Maybe if we reach 50,000 by the time that campaign's ready to go, I'll put a 5th issue.
Ooh.
But the reason for that is because number 10 is already going to be king sized. That's going to be big. So that's going to be kind of like 55 to 56 pages of story for number 10. And then the rest of them, 11, 12, and 13, will be normal, like 22 pages of story or so. But if we do raise 50,000 on this campaign and we're halfway there, then I'll make issue 14 for next year.
Pete, you're probably old enough to... Do you remember the shows they had? This was probably late 80s, early 90s. They were like news shows, but they were about sci-fi, cryptid type stuff. Like,
like in search of and sightings and...
There's this one guy. He had like a weird mustache and stuff, and he'd be like, "Well, you can give yourself a pat on the back," and he's always talking about like, "We have a new video of a cryptid today. He's got his like bad news desk and stuff, and What they disappeared overnight. I wonder what happened to them.
Well, what's strange about that is there was a lot of stuff within the government at that time that was dipping the toes into disclosure on a couple different topics, and especially Clinton was really interested in that stuff. Like one of the rumor has it, especially from many people within the government, that one of the first things he did in his first week of being a president was he wants to know about Roswell and he wants to know about the JFK assassination. And I think right then and there they were like, we're gonna have to make sure we take this guy down a few pegs.
I could see it all now. Like, yeah, get me some McDonald's, and I want all those files on my desk for reading.
Yeah, you know, and yeah. So I've always had a weird view about the Clintons. They're very odd.
Oh,
I'll leave it at that. But it seemed like for a while it was kind of okay to push the concept of dipping the toe into the water of disclosure in a bigger way, and then that all came crashing down towards the end of the '90s, and then lo and behold,
I think it died with Art Bell.
Well, yeah. Well, now we're seeing a whole other tick of it. But the thing is that also, and not to turn your show into a conspiracy show, but in May 2001, there was a big conference to push disclosure that was bringing up the trillions of dollars that are unaccounted in the Defense Department, and that the allegation was that they were all being sunk into black budget projects to build a lot of alien reverse vehicles, or reverse engineered, so from craft that had crashed. So within just a handful of months, all of a sudden, the day right before September 11, Rumsfeld admits that, yeah, we've lost like $2 trillion. You know, we don't know where it is. and we just don't know. $2 trillion in the defense budget.
We did develop these air fryers. It's got nothing to do.
Right. You know, and there would be crazy things, and it's happening again now, and it's always kind of happened. The budget balloons, and it's like, you know, a $2,000 toilet, a $700 hammer. You know, there'll be things like that they've listed that are like, what is this? You know?
Yeah.
But this was not even like that game of misdirection and misappropriation. This was just like no one wants to admit where this money is. It's a lot of money. And all of a sudden the next day is September 11.
Right.
And then the thing that gets hit on the Pentagon is the accounting and auditing department.
Well, I'm not going to confirm or deny, but I will say in the last 2 years, we have seen a whole bunch of people ask a question, and then once that gets to be trending on any kind of social media, something crazy happens on the news. It doesn't take too much to see that there's some sort of a weird pattern. Speaking of weird pattern, Matt C, welcome to the Nest and Good Stuff.
Hey, Matt.
Welcome to the Nest. Hello.
Hey, Good Stuff. What's up?
We're almost done, but again, there's replay. It's been a good show. I don't know if you guys are into spoiler alerts or anything like that, but it's been a good show. I'll have to put that out there. Sorry, I didn't have a banner for that, like spoiler, like tell you guys like this was a terrible show or a good show. You're at the ending, so you can go back.
It was good. So it's a rough opening. We're kind of finding our bearings.
Yeah, that's right.
But then we delve into it.
Sometimes the cold opens like throw people off, but that's always fun.
Yeah,
it's always fun.
Yeah, but
nothing to see here.
Yeah, and that's what I love about. I love exploring a lot of different things in King Cryptid with all the different monsters and creatures and the kind of allegory involved with the government cover-up stuff and the different programs that have been done over the years. And some of the stuff we take more of a historical fiction spin to it, and we'll bring up actual things. And then other things, I go full-blown fiction, but inspired by history. So there's a lot of stuff within King Cryptid that's just flat out, you don't have to be involved in or know any of that. But if you're like a paranormal history buff, or if you're into conspiracies or weird projects that have occurred over the years, you'll get something extra out of King Cryptid. But for the most part, it just has to do with monsters and just the adventures of King Cryptid.
Do you get into a lot of that talk on your channel now?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff, and I love getting involved in different topics that revolve around the nature of what brings those things about, whether it's through legend, folklore, government cover-up, whatever it is. There's a very, very long history of humanity having strange tales about things that they see, that they've seen, that they've witnessed come down from the sky, that's in the woods, that's, that they've seen someone turn into something. There's all kinds of different stories, and it's compelling because so many of them are so similar, but they're so geographically far apart. So it's interesting. It's not like we're talking about someone from 10,000 years ago that had Twitter and was like, check out what that is. Look at this. Look at that viral video. It's sort of like, well, how the hell did they communicate? Which then brings you to another thing of like, well, did they have technology to communicate on that level that we just don't know about? So even if it's like all hogwash, it's still like, well, it's either things were really happening and being interpreted in the same kind of way, or people were communicating and we don't know how they were communicating. So either way, it's interesting.
I almost feel like you do need yourself an AM radio show too, to kind of accompany everything you've got going on.
I'll work on that.
A sweet, like Art Bell style.
Yeah.
Get some call-ins of people like, I was abducted once by an alien. We went to Walmart. It's the best night of my life.
That's the thing too. The amount of disinformation campaigns that have been run by people who've been paid off by the CIA to just come across like raving lunatics, to throw people off the scent of being like, oh, it's just crazy people that hear about aliens or witness them.
So would you say, we'll close with this question. Would you say Fire in the Sky was a propaganda movie?
100%. It's different than Travis Walton's account, that's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely played up more on the angle of fear than what he really did go through. And obviously, you're scared anyway because it's like, this is crazy.
That scene, the abduction scene, man, that's like a classic.
Yeah, but the abduction scene is like, whew, 100%. I mean, it made me scared crapless of aliens, Right. And but then there's things that I've been doing more and more research into over the past couple of years, especially, and it's interesting how many people have actually had unbelievably positive experiences with aliens, but then other people have had really horrible ones. And then when you look into it further, there's a lot of stagecraft abductions. So there's a lot of accountings of the government recreating vehicles and settings and putting people even under hypnosis while they're in costume and doing these things to them, saying certain things to them. Like, it'll be like this thing of like aliens that they're just speaking English, and they just it looks like it's that part like in Ghostbusters 2 where she's like, I think it was a Holiday Inn, or maybe it was something that the aliens had set up to look like a Holiday Inn. It's like that kind of thing.
That, like Rosetta Stone, it works for everybody, even aliens.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where there's a lot of other stuff that there's various people making like deathbed style confessions practically that were involved with certain things. And a lot of the negative abduction experiences were actually, it was government stuff going down. But a lot of people were like, they got miraculously healed by aliens. They had unbelievably, positive feelings and euphoric experiences and things that were just great. And then their lives, like they had a certain disease that was healed, and and they would have, it's like a weird thing throughout people's lineages too, where like they'll discover that this runs in the family, that specific alien abductions have been occurring in their family with different stories for like the past 200 to 300 years, and probably even further than that, which means the aliens are most likely kind of looking into people and seeing what they're doing.
Dr. Crow wonders what you think of the old Orson Welles War of the Worlds radio broadcast and the reaction to that.
What do I think of it in terms of, do I think it was like a legit thing that went wrong?
Cover up like thing kind of thing?
I think that was that was a while. That was a while before they really started introducing a lot of that stuff in some kind of concrete way. So I really wonder, in terms of the way that went down. There's a story. There's a lot of stories where there's people that are basically saying that was a whole thing concocted by the government.
Oh,
but at the same time, and that like Wells was kind of unknowingly participating in making this thing as realistic as possible. But I think that what happened and what went down, I mean, there were accounts of people losing their crap from it, and people that caught the radio broadcast like minutes into it,
Yeah,
And
before they said this is a entertainment thing. Yeah.
You know, so it's I think it Peep, I think it is a little mixed, and there is an aspect to it that is kind of strange considering when like the timeline of when that was aired. It just seemed like this is a weird little experiment we're going to pull to see how do people handle this. And
at the same time, Orson Welles was a very crazy innovator type person like that. Like, I'm just going to go on and make it look real.
Yeah. And
he definitely would have been like a Christopher Nolan of today.
Yeah, he was just a strange dude in general. He didn't really get along too well with like the Hollywood system and everything, and but meanwhile was still very close with people who were entertainers and things like that. So I don't think he had much love for the bureaucracy and corporatization of the Hollywood machine. But as far as Pete, Betty and Barney Hill, that one too was always strange to me because I believe they went through what they went through. I mean, they went under hypnosis more than enough times to stay consistent with their story. But the thing with them is they were a mixed race couple, very influential in their area. New Hampshire also being kind of politically key, even though it's a small state. Like New Hampshire is this weird political linchpin. And then you get them being involved with civil rights at the time. What better way to discredit the civil rights movement at the basis than by saying these people are lunatics that think they got abducted by aliens? So there's all kinds of strange things with that one as well. We actually touch upon that in King Cryptid, the Betty and Barney Hill stuff.
Which issue?
So it's mentioned a little bit in issue 3.
Okay.
But then in issue 8 we mention it some more, and we actually meet the Zeta Reticulans are on the back cover of issue 8. And then we meet them, and the full appearance of them is in issue 11. Okay. And the thing is, there's a lot of interesting things that go down in that issue. I don't think it's going to go the way people think it's going to go. And the thing is, on the back cover too. Well, it's all over what way is it going to go? So in issue 11, the back cover, you see the head alien is basically saying, and you see King Cryptid's reflection in their eyes. And you see them saying, "It's nice to see you again, Crowan." It's like, what the hell does that mean? It's nice to see him again. So it's one of those, there's going to be a lot to tell with these guys. They're going to be around for a bit.
Michael Deitch says one thing the Wells broadcast shows was how readily people would believe in extraterrestrial. Yeah, it could very well also, if it wasn't a social experiment, it could very well have been like a big social observation, like, ooh, we can do stuff like this. I could see that too. Absolutely. Good point, Michael. All right, everybody. We've hit our hour 7. It's been a great talk all around. Touched on a lot of subjects. It's great to see Pete again. Great to see the chat again.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on anytime. You are welcome to be here. So I will let you get to your day. I'll let everybody else get to your day. Thanks for showing up, everybody. Look at 13 people. That's, I think, might be a record. Awesome. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you.